This is From the Garden to the Track, tractor pulling podcast. Dylan, how was your weekend, your tractor weekend?
I didn't have much to speak of, really. We went to Dexter, Missouri, and the nephew pulled and Dad pulled. Huey pulled the 850 junior class and pulled Aunt Sam's tractor again. And he ended up getting second behind Grant Burris. So that's the second time that Grant's tractor has beat Aunt Yam. So we're going to have to do something about that. He had a really good pull on Little Man. His tractor is 10 horse, but the track just wasn't really the best. And just other people did better than him, but it ran really good and had a good strong pull. Dad pulled his twin in the 950 and the 1050 class. I think he got third in the 950, and I don't know how he did in 1050, but he had both good clean passes. Everything run good, so wasn't a bad night of pulling. The following day, we went up to Pinckneyville, Illinois, at the Perry County Fairgrounds, same place they have the Thresherman show I've mentioned. And the Illinois chapter of the International Harvester Club was having a Cub Cadet show. That was September 19th. This was the third year in that location, and they're really trying to get it going. They've kind of had some trouble with some of the older members, and there's not young people coming up to help do these things, and some of them are getting bad health and things like that. But we need to have younger people stepping up trying to carry on these different events. There were probably about 50 garden tractors or so, and they had a bunch of implements and stuff there, and a couple people was selling parts. Wasn't a big show, but I think it could be a big show and be a really cool show. Some of the ladies there were cooking, and they had some food there by donation only. They had some kids' games. I think there's more things they want to do in the future, like they're wanting to do some events with the tractors plowing and tilling and doing some field events and things like that. They mentioned that they'd really like to have some more implements and stuff. There are a lot of implements for Cubs that they'd like to showcase. We talked to them about bringing the pulling tractors up, and they really welcome really anything Cub Cadet to come. They want to see it grow, and I would like to also. I think it's a really good thing. So hopefully next year some of us from here in Southern Illinois will take tractors to them and try to help grow the event. Sam, what have you been up to?
Last weekend was my annual Hobbit Day celebration.
And what's Hobbit Day?
So J.R.R. Tolkien wrote The Hobbit, and September 22nd is Hobbit Day, which is Bilbo Baggins' birthday. And of course the first day of fall was the 22nd also. But I'm excited about this episode, so.
Oh, me too. You got any events coming up at the library that some of our listeners from the area might want to come attend?
We're having a book and bake sale on October 25th at our library.
That's in Crab Orchard, Illinois.
So you can buy baked goods, you can buy books.
It wouldn't hurt some of us to read a book.
We have a Halloween bash coming up we'll have Animal Tales in, and it's the creepy critters because it's Halloween, so we'll have spiders and Yeah, I'm not super excited about that, but the kids are. And then we'll be at trunk or treats all in the area too. Pittsburgh. We'll be at the Krill Parade. I think we're trying to attend the Crab Orchard trunk or treat also, but there's some scheduling conflicts on that. And yep, November 14th we're gonna have a chicken and dumplings fundraiser dinner.
That would be really good.
I have not confirmed the location on that yet, though. So
this next weekend, I'll be at the Princeton, Indiana pool, indoor pool. I'll have a lot of parts with me. Just come by and see me and talk to me and maybe get you a sticker and some parts from me. Really look forward to going to that pool. It's not too far from home. So, and it's the first indoor pool of the winter, basically. So,
wasn't there another one in October?
Yeah, I'm thinking about going up to Michigan, but we've not really decided on that yet.
Oh, I thought there was another local one.
No, we've just got a couple local pools left too. Not sure if we're going to get to hit all of them or not, or any of them really, but kind of winding down here. This year's flown by. We're coming to you tonight from Danny's Bar and Grill in Effingham, and we are joined with a very special guest, Mr. Kevin Vogel.
Yeah.
What are you drinking tonight, Kevin?
Sam Adams Oktoberfest. I endorse this beer.
Yeah, if you're ever up here stopping to see Kevin, just stop in here. Pretty good place to eat. Well, first of all, we just want to get your story, the whole backstory. How'd Dad start?
Yeah, I want the whole, because I've never met you until today. I've only ever heard your name.
Yeah.
You're, a tractor pulling person.
Right.
So I want to know the whole thing.
Well, I was born into it, so I guess, my parents started tractor pulling before I was even born. So I believe the story was that Mom even did a powder puff pull.
I love how back then it was a powder puff.
Yeah, and all women, and all moms, or an all women class called a powder puff class. And I think she was pregnant with me when she.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I think.
So really from the beginning.
Yeah, really from the beginning. I was really thrown into it from the womb. So yeah, they'd started already, and they were already running, I believe, somewhat of a business. Dad was already making some parts on the side and selling some parts.
What kind of parts was he making?
I think connecting rods and some. I don't know if he'd made crankshafts yet. I was born in '76. I know he had made connecting rods at that point.
So was he buying just billets and making them trading billets, or was he modifying?
I believe he started off modifying rods, maybe a continental rod, if I'm not mistaken, and then eventually built his own billet rods and eventually built his own billet cranks to change the stroke. Because in those days, there really wasn't classes in the same way that there was today. So one of the goals was just to make the engines bigger in cubic inch. And the first guy to make the engines bigger, made more power. It was just that simple. So if you had the wherewithal to change the bore, to change the stroke, to build connecting rods that were failing, to build billet connecting rods to solve the failures, you could win tractor pulls and sell the parts.
Right. So before we started this, you mentioned like the outlaws and stuff. They had outlaw classes. It was just run what you brung.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was really before my time, so it's not something I remember, but it's something that, Mom and Dad talked about when I was really young and when they started pulling. And yeah, a lot of classes were just run what you brung. And they didn't necessarily have a horsepower limit. Nitro was allowed or was used. I don't know if it was allowed. There probably, I doubt that there was a lot of handwritten rules in the early days. There was no internet, so I don't know how organized everything was. And there's stories about them going to 2 and 3 tractor pulls a day.
Oh wow!
Oh my God. I couldn't imagine.
Yeah,
it sounds like a long day.
Yeah. They would go to a tractor pull and then go to something in the morning or by noon, then travel to a pull in the afternoon. and then go to another pull in the evening.
Oh, goodness.
And there was
So they were eat up with it from the beginning?
Yeah, traveling all the time.
How old were you the first time you pulled?
The first time I actually drove, I was probably 11 or 12 years old.
Older than I thought, honestly.
Yeah, I didn't start off in a kids class. There were some kids classes. It probably wasn't as developed as what it is today. My very first trip was on a pro stock tractor, a 50 cubic inch pro stock tractor with an aftermarket engine block. It was over in Indiana.
Oh, wow.
So I didn't take the path that some people assume is natural or normal, where you kind of start off in the most entry-level class when you're 10 or 12 years old, and you do stock pulling for so long, and then you move into this open RPM class, and then you move it. You know, I had the benefit of my father already running the super stock or the pro stock class, and he didn't build a new tractor. I was already at the pull, and we just said, wait it for me, you know, and hop on, and he put a lot of front end weight on it so it was controllable. And I pulled, and I think the first time I got a second or a third, you know, with
Do you remember where that was?
It was somewhere in Indiana. I don't remember. I want to say it must have been north of Lafayette or north of Indianapolis. I don't remember exactly where it was. I know another one of my friends pulled the same day, Travis Albright, who his father was also a tractor puller back in the early days. And Travis is probably about the same age when he pulled, 10 or 11, 12 years old at that time.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
The stock tractors were around, but it wasn't so much like it wasn't kids classes. A lot of people ran stock tractors. There wasn't as many classes that were kind of dedicated for kids. So the path of today wasn't the same as what it.
So things are geared more for the kids nowadays.
Today, I would say,
more your stock stuff would be just.
I talked to a lot of people with clubs, and they definitely have classes that are aimed at the kids. And
Well, I feel like that's because the population of pullers is dwindling, so you've got to get the youth in there.
Yeah, I think keeping the kids involved is important. And a lot of the local clubs do a good job of that with a total dedicated kids class.
That's a big thing for us.
Yeah.
So I remember seeing on Facebook you guys did something to some land speed projects, or your dad did.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about them? What were them about?
Yeah, we've been involved in, Dad's been involved in a lot of projects over the years. Big tractor engines, industrial, small block and big block gear, which is a big part of the company. But also he's had friends that ran race cars. So we've been involved in some boat racing projects and some land speed record projects. So one of Dad's old friends, and I worked at his shop, a gentleman named Jim Lang, ran a shop here in Effingham called Lang Electric, and he just repaired electric motors, and he ran a 67 Studebaker Avanti out at the Salt Flats multiple years, and we ground cams for Jim, and he held speed records for a Studebaker-powered Studebaker.
Oh, wow.
He held some land speed records for one of the classes out there. And so we've kind of been at the outskirts of people that ran speed record stuff since the mid-'90s or early 90s. Jim started doing it. And then in more recent years, we've been involved in little diesel projects that were like little diesel streamliner projects, and also some motorcycle projects. And so some of the diesel streamliner projects cross directly over with like the diesel garden tractor pulling.
Okay.
They use either 2 or 3 cylinder Kubotas or Yanmar diesels, and they're competing in 600 or 1,000 or 1,500 cc classes, and we have some customers that hold some records in those classes now as well.
Oh wow. Yeah, I never would have dreamed that. I just remember seeing some pictures recently on that. That's really cool.
Yeah, going to Bonneville is amazing. It's a super pure form of motorsport. There's rules for every given. There's a lot of classes, and there's very clear rules for the classes in terms of safety and performance. But ultimately, when you go to Bonneville to run a speed record class, it's just you competing against the clock. So the atmosphere out there in the pits and amongst competitors is pretty amazing because they're not really competing against each other. In some classes, there are records going back and forth between 2 or 3 people, but by and large, most people see themselves as competing against the clock. They're all trying to beat a record. They're not necessarily trying to beat Jim or Bob or whoever it is. They're competing against a time, and it's a neat atmosphere. It's very pure, and there's almost nothing to be gained by it. It's there's no monetary gains. There's very little sponsorship.
Just bragging rights,
which I would say has some overlaps with things like tractor pulling. Tractor pulling is unique in the fact that there are sponsors involved in tractor pulling, but by and large, the competitors are not fueled by sponsorship.
No,
so they're there because
beat their buddy.
You're not fueled by
because they want to beat their buddy, or they're there because they're into it. You know, it's much more like kind of like I joke with my wife about. It's like model trains. You know, a guy can go down in the basement and build a model train set, and he can spend 10 or 20 years perfecting his model train set in the basement and be completely content to only share that with himself and his buddies and his family. He's doing that because it's what he wants to do. So there's an element of tractor pulling, there's an element of Bonneville, Salt Flats, speed race, and it's like that. It's like people just do it. They don't really need they can afford, some guys can afford more than other guys can afford. Some guys can't afford anything at all and they still want to do it, but they're not doing it to make a paycheck the way some guys would in circle track racing. Or so, you know, there are some motorsports out there where you can do it as a business and make it support itself, or even go so far as to make money with sponsorship. Tractor pulling has never proven to be that.
It don't matter what scale you're on with tractor pulling.
So that's fine. It's nothing good or bad against any of that stuff, but it's you know, it does lead you to, you find a different type of customer in these sports, you know, and in tractor pulling and in Bonneville, you have customers that are just really into it.
Yes.
What they're doing.
Oh yeah, we're good. Thank you. Yep.
That's actually what I really like about tractor pulling and stuff like that. You're here for a good time because you love it, or because, like you said, the guy with the train set, I want to build a good tractor.
Yeah.
I want to build a good car, whatever it is they're on the Salt Flats with.
There's certain people that I want to beat. Mike Haswinkle.
Friendly. Yeah, just friendly.
Mike Haswinkle and Randy Bell are two of them. But it's more of a respect thing. I just like them guys. They're fun to be around. And I want to beat them. And I've gotten close, but I still ain't done it.
Yeah, and mine's always Jaron. Because he always beats me.
Right.
Or Corliss beats me like a foot.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, but it's just digging at your buddies after it's over. It ain't nothing. I mean, good grief.
It's mostly like,
bucks,
did I pull further than last time?
Right.
Why is this different?
Yeah.
What can I do to my tractor
How do you get better?
Go a little bit further?
Yeah.
So, when did your dad's and your business like really start evolving?
Or when did you start working in it?
Yeah. Well, the business changed in the fact that we probably got a lot more serious about it in the mid-90s.
Were you working for him then? Or
no, I was in high school, but he went full-time.
Okay.
You know, the business had been, the pulling side of the business, the supply of garden tractor pulling parts, cranks, rods, pistons, was really a part-time business up until 92 or 93. You could call the house. You could talk to mom or dad of evenings. You could talk to dad because he was working a day job. You could talk to mom or you could talk to dad during the evening. And he went out in the shop of evenings from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock, and he built tractor pulling parts, and people would come by and buy them, and they would sell them and take orders. But then in 93 or so, he went full-time. He left Fetters and went full-time into the manufacture of the parts, so he went basically 8 hours a day into it.
Right.
And that was throughout the time that I was the tail end of my high school career.
Which is a good time for a young man to be learning some stuff.
So I was around that a lot. You know, I was out in the shop of evenings, and the weekends he was spending a lot more time in the shop. So I was out there sweeping and cleaning up the shop and around the machines and doing a little machine work and stuff like that. And so, but everything got a lot more serious there in the mid-90s, and it turned into mom and dad's full-time thing.
Yeah.
And, of course, 95, I graduated. I went to to Carbondale to college.
And what
I was really, I went to school for industrial engineering. So I was down there until 99. And then after that, I moved to St. Louis and was there for a couple of years. So I didn't come back to Effingham and go back full time officially into the business until about 2000 or 2001.
Okay. So I'm going to back up a little bit there. You mentioned, you would call and talk to your mom and dad on the phone, and it was just called the house. I think that's so funny because, you still bring that today to your business. I've had a couple questions on the silliest of things, I thought, and, I called you and you walked me through it, and you even took some videos and made sure I grasped it fully, and I just appreciate that out of any kind of business.
Yeah.
There's still the personal touch to it and the family oriented. You guys aren't just trying to make a dollar. Yeah, it's what supports your family, but you're not just in it for just the money. Like, you guys genuinely enjoy doing stuff like what we're doing right now, just talking about it and being around it. I appreciate that. I think that's awesome. And what brought you back to it? Whenever you said you moved to St. Louis, what made you decide I'm going to go back and I'm going to work with Dad, or
that's a good question. So I've been working in St. Louis for a couple of years at Hunter Engineering.
Okay.
They build heavy duty alignment systems, lift rack equipment, the red stuff that you see in a lot of the tire shops. A lot of it is Hunter equipment. It's they're a pretty high end shop equipment brand.
But you worked for them.
Yeah, I worked for them. I did laser programming and acetylene torch programming.
Yeah.
And turret press.
Yep.
Strip it turret press programming. So I basically was a CNC programmer for a lot of their fabrication shop.
Oh wow.
And so they have a location still in St. Louis on the airport property. And then they also have a couple of locations down in Mississippi. And so I've been doing the programming for the fabrication shop. I was one of their manufacturing engineers. There's only two of us. And I'd worked for them for a couple of years. And basically they're a great shop, great place to work. But ultimately what brought me back to Effingham and Vogel Manufacturing was Mom and Dad just made me an offer.
Well, good.
They'd spent 5 or 6 years
building it up,
building it up as their full time, thing, and it basically had a lot of work to do. And it's in a building at the house. It was only like a 1,500 square foot building, or not a very big building, and it's spread over 2 or 3 small buildings. And basically, they just made me an offer that I could come back and incorporate because they had pretty strong feelings that it would sustain itself, and it would sustain myself and my own wages and everything. So I took the chance. I took the chance to come back to Effingham after being in St. Louis for a couple of years, and I don't regret it at all. Even though Hunter was a great place to work, so it was just kind of an offer that was hard to turn down.
Yeah.
So
that's great. I'm glad that you guys have got something like that.
Yeah. So then I came back to Effingham, and it was a couple of years. Basically, I bought a house, moved back to Effingham, and spent a couple of years working at the old location, which was out at their house, and the buildings out there before we purchased a building in the industrial park, which is where we're located now. Yeah. We purchased that building in 2005 to kind of put the whole timeline together. So we've been in the Effingham, the industrial park location, which we're at now, since 20 years now. Yeah.
Good.
It seems like yesterday, but it was 20 years ago.
I get it.
Well, I think it's like the perfect size.
Yeah.
We talked about, not a lot of overhead, but it's big, but not
and very
too
nice.
much to manage.
Yeah. And there's benefits of being in the industrial park in terms of convenience, having truck docks. And
I was going to say,
a forklift now is something we didn't have at the other location.
Yeah.
There's nice things about being out in the country and having a shop at your home. There's a lot of neat things about that. Convenient things about that.
But a lot of things that aren't.
There's things that are convenient about being in a location where you're in an industrial setting.
Yeah.
We can make crazy noise day and night in the industrial. We can run dynos in the industrial park. Nobody bats an eye,
Yeah.
You might get in trouble at home.
There's no
sometimes.
problem.
Yeah,
So,
his first shop was right around the corner from our house.
Mm-hmm.
Which was nice because it was just up the road from the house, far enough that no one was bugging me at home, but it was also close enough that if I want to go tinker on something, I just run up there and do it.
Yeah.
So what's it like working with your dad and your sons have been helping you? I know the past few times I've been up, they've been in there grinding cans and stuff, and I think that's impressive.
Yeah, well, working with family is hard.
Yes.
You know, it's, but it's, you know, it's still probably better than maybe better isn't the word. I mean, it's hard, but there's a lot of things that are hard about
Working with
anyone. Yeah, strangers or anyone.
Yes.
So, I mean, I'd say one of the positives and negatives is that when you're with family, I mean, they're going to see every side of it. And they're gonna see the good and the bad, and basically you're still, for the most part, as you know, you're still stuck with each other at the end. So you just get past it. So it probably allows you to be more honest with each other.
Yeah,
to the point.
For sure.
It also probably allows you to be more cruel with each other, and probably be more hurtful because you would say things to people who are close to you.
Oh, I understand.
Versus, definitely.
That you wouldn't say to a stranger because it's illegal.
Yeah.
It's definitely illegal to say some of the things to an employee that I would say to my family members. So
my younger sister worked for me basically from the start of my business until recently. She got a job with the operators. She runs equipment now. But I definitely get it. She's a lot of the reason I am where I am. You know, she did a lot of the shop welding and
Thank God we didn't have an HR department.
Yes, right. For her, not for me.
Yeah.
She was rough.
Right, yeah.
But, no, I definitely get it because there's a lot of stuff that I would sit back and be like, hell yeah, my little sister just built that. But then there'd be a lot of times I want to get in her ass about something.
That was my little sister doing this.
Are you sure it's not that way?
She
but I can't.
broke it.
Yeah. It'll be all right. So I get that. So, let's see. What would you say you like the most about pulling? Like actually going to the pulls, going down the track, and all and that part.
I love outdoor evenings on weeknights in Illinois tractor pulling. There's nothing that beats a 300-foot track at 7:30 at night in July in Illinois. You know, that's a blast.
Right. The people make
the people,
for me.
the people, the atmosphere.
Just hanging out at the tent and watching and hanging out with my people.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. That's probably one of the best things. You know, on the flip side, I mean, I love the strategy of tractor pulling. You know, that's something that I've transferred to my oldest son, Vincent, who people know he goes to some of the indoor pulls and stuff.
He's been pulling for a little while now.
Yeah, he's been pulling since he was 12 or 13. He jumped, kind of same story as me. The first trip was on Two Blue on a super stock tractor.
Yeah.
He's never been on...
You and
he's never been on
Yeah.
any tractor other than a 50 cubic inch super stock. You know, so... They're pretty safe, you know. He just jumped on one. We buttoned it down and put enough weight on the front that it wasn't going to do anything crazy, and sent him down the track and never looked back. But the strategy, the fact that you know he sees it immediately as a physics competition. You know, the driving is only one small percentage of the pull. There's the gearing and the weight setup, picking where you're going to go on the track. Because it's a dirt track, there's a huge element of luck involved. You know, you can have a strong engine and you can have a perfect setup and all those things, and you can go in the right spot on the track and you're still on a dirt track. And so there's an element of chance in tractor pulling that exists in all dirt motorsports that, you know, will destroy the best laid plans.
Right.
But that's probably what makes it so interesting. That's the luck element that you're just like, well, you know, you got to have some luck on your side. But he loves the physics competition. That's one of the things that I love the most too. The setup between the weight and the gearing and trying to get it just right, and then also being able to take a shot at it and then make a change. You need to see if you can improve on it. One of the first things we say when we get off of the tractor is like, okay, well, that was a good pull or it wasn't a good pull. The first question is, what would you do differently?
Yep.
You know, so what did you need more front weight? Should you went down a gear? What were you on the wrong place on the track? Should you have slid the clutch further? Should you have climbed up on the steering wheel because it was close in balance? You know, what would you have done differently to improve on where you were? And, you know, part of the time when you're dialed in and you play with the pros out there, you get to a point to where you're like, I wouldn't have done anything differently. You know, my setup was exactly what I did, and it got me to third place or fourth place in this qualify. Got me in, you know, it was good, but the element of luck put me in third place, and I don't know what I could have done to go to first. It wasn't a weight or it wasn't a gearing. Maybe it was that's the element of luck that's always the crapshoot, you know. So that place is, that's cool.
Do you keep a notebook for it?
We don't keep a notebook, but we've got a chart.
I figured you would.
I don't. I'm not that organized, but you know, we talk about it all the time, and we keep a diagram for our weight. We keep a diagram or a chart on the bottom of our seat, and we talk about how we make those decisions. So we look at every situation as a different situation, whether that's right or wrong. A lot of people we pull with do keep a notebook, and they'll have.
I do.
Every year from the last time they were at this pull on July 4th.
Yeah.
For the last 5 years. I ran a 23 this year. I ran a 22 that year. I ran a 23 and a 23 and then a 22. I ran 100 pounds and 90 pounds and 100 pounds and 90 and 80. You know, they keep track of all of that. That's a hell of a good way to start, you know. And I don't do that just because I'm too much of an ADHD case or I'm just disorganized. It's just not my nature. I do make lists and keep notes, but I don't on tractor pulling, just to be honest. I like to think about it like, I try to think about myself more like I'm an AI computer and I know the philosophy behind it. So we look at it like, okay, here's what's going on. Our buddy's running 100 pounds. That means we're going to run 90. Yeah. So if we're running 90 pounds, that means we're going to run a 24-tooth gear. Okay. And so if we go out and so I try to solve the problem in real time, mostly because I'm disorganized, and I try to, and Vincent, my son, does the same thing. You know, we kind of solve the problem in real time, and if we see something we don't like, we're like, oh, let's go from 90 to 100. Let's go from 23 to 22 and a half on our gearing. And we make our adjustments and we talk about it and we just do it. We don't write it down because we kind of deal with it in the real time right there. But, you know.
And every track is different. So.
Every track is different. Where that will get you into trouble, though, the guy with the notebook he has a starting point if he draws number one.
Yeah.
My starting point on number one, I'm a little bit inexperienced here because I started looking around, and I start to look around at what my buddies who I trust, I start to look at what Bill Nipp's running for front weight. Yeah. I start to look at what John Kress is running for front weight because I don't have a notebook and I trust their starting gut point more than I do.
There's copying their
So I've got to make a crapshoot the first time. If I haven't watched some other people pull already, I got to make a crapshoot. I got to make that educated guess, and that's tough, you know.
Right. We're good. Yeah. Thank you. I keep a notebook myself because I'm horrible ADHD too, but that gives me a little bit of organization in my life, and I can go back there and just like you said, have a reference to get started.
Right. So my mother, if she was pulling with me like she did when I was young, she would keep track of those notes in her notebook. She would do that on my behalf. Yeah. Because that's the way she is.
And then probably get on you whenever.
And she would just have some notes from what we ran last year at this pull or what we did. We ran this side of the track. We ran this gear or this much front weight. She would have a notebook from those like ITPA events, and she would jot down some notes about what we did if she knew them or asked us, you know. So she would keep a notebook, basically, classic secretary, excellent secretary. You know, keeping track. You know, there's always some person is taking care of somebody behind the scenes. That'd be Virginia.
Absolutely.
You know? Yeah.
She takes care of me behind scenes.
Yeah, right. So in a perfect world, if you kind of got this team atmosphere, which, you know, that's the cool thing. If you get a couple people to go with you, like it would be very difficult. I would just go and be satisfied to go, and I'm not dialed in on kill competitively in tractor. Like I'm not going to a tractor pull trying to beat anybody particularly. I've been doing it my whole life, and I've had a lot of success early on when I was young. So I go to a tractor pull and I just kind of I try to kind of go and just zen out. I'm never dialed in on kill and never done anything that happens there.
I've never had a bad day at the track.
I've never been late to a tractor pull, and I try not to have bad days at tractor pulls. I could go out of bounds. Nothing about that happens at a tractor pull makes me want to go sit down and soak and be myself. There's things
that's true. Yeah, that's valid.
Something like that might happen at the shop.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
Nothing at a tractor pull. It's just where I'm at. I understand why other people, that play golf or play baseball or go tractor pulling competitively feel stronger about it. I completely get that.
I do it to relax.
But I do it, kind of for that other reason. So, that lets me, look at it more like it's a game and try to learn from it, I'm in it for the long haul. I don't see a point when I'm going to quit. There's times when I'm not passionate about going to pull at all. There's been spans in my life, during college, I don't think I pulled for 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
And then I got back into it in the 2000s after I moved back. So there was a large spans where I pulled when I was very young. And then I did no pulling through my 20s, at all. And then I restarted pulling with really very little success in the 30s. I've never had success in tractor pulling the way I did when I was young, kind of back in the heyday, whenever Dad was setting up the tractor pull. And I was going, I think I pulled the Columbus Hilliard indoor pull 5 times, and I won it 3 times.
Oh, really?
Back then. And you could say, it was in a heat of 100 tractors, so I had early on success. I was a kid. I just aimed, let the clutch out, aim and go, and you would win pulls. And of course we had strong equipment and all that stuff. It was different than it is today.
Right.
I've never had success like that. I kind of feel like it's made me to the point that I feel like I don't really need it. I can just go to a tractor pull and just
you're there to hang out with it, enjoy it.
Or I want to see success. I want to see my son understand it. My son's never had great success in it in terms of, I don't know that he's won a super stock pull, maybe at a local or a club level, but not a big pull.
Right.
We run equipment that's kind of old and outdated by today's standards. We run a wide frame, it's not a narrow frame. I would argue that most people are competitive on narrow. There's a very clear way there's a very clear way the tractor should look and be if you want to win or be competitive in indoor pulls these days. So we haven't really done that, but I don't have a massive drive. I want to see my son kind of pick up the setup and understanding. We're building tractors, so I think that will come for us over time, but we're in it for the long game, Been doing it since I was 12, and I don't have any intention of ever stopping.
Does your wife pull?
She doesn't pull, but she's definitely involved. She's involved with the business, and she's a very competitive person. So she loves going to the polls. She loves the competition. She probably wishes we were more competitive.
Yeah,
in fact, she's never been around when we were younger or very kind of when we won a lot.
Yeah.
Mom and Dad we just have basements full of trophies throughout the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And, unfortunately, my wife and I have been married since 2003. She's been to a lot of tractor pulls.
You might want to change the way you said that. You just said, unfortunately, we've been married since.
She's probably going to listen to this. Can you guys fix that?
We know what you meant, though.
Yeah, right. So, we haven't had a lot of competitive success.
Yeah.
Really, with anything we've done going out polling for the last 20 years, really.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in the hunt. We can be competitive, but we haven't won a lot of polls,
For me, I definitely get where you're coming from. I don't really care how I do whenever I show up, but I definitely am always happy whenever she gets in the money. Because it's fun seeing our buddies dig her or her dig them about it and just have a good time. Yeah. We mentioned my buddy Corliss on another episode how they were within just a foot of each other or something, just picking. And then right now my big goal is I'm wanting to get my nephew a win. Yeah. He just pulls a little 10 horse and he's 4 years old. But he told me the other day he wanted a trophy, so that's kind of my main objective now is get the boy a trophy. Yeah. You also touched on obviously we talked quite a bit about setup, and I think it's really funny and neat how these little guys that we hang out with at our local clubs pick up, because in episode 2, we had our buddy Jay Schultz on. He's 10 years old. And I asked him, I said something along the lines of, what do you think is most important, or what kind of advice would you give to somebody new pulling? And he said, focus on your setup. You don't have to have a big motor. Get your tire pressure right and get your weights right, and you'll do good, and the rest will come. And I think that's great.
He's smart.
Right.
He's a smart kid.
Yeah.
He's 10 years old, and here you sat here, been doing this for how long, and said the same thing.
Yeah.
I think that's neat.
Yeah.
And what they pick up.
Definitely, yeah.
So I asked what you liked about actually going and pulling. Are you, I feel like you're probably a lot like me. What I like most about pulling is just building cool stuff.
Yeah.
I just like we've talked in the shop and stuff, I like coming up with new ideas and building new stuff and going to my plasma table and designing stuff and making a part. To me, it's not so much about the pulling, but I could have 15 tractors that I'm building just because I find something new I want to do different.
Yeah.
Do you like the pulling better, or do you like the shop aspect of it better?
The tractor pulling gives you a reason to work on the engine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm way into the engine. I love engines.
Yeah.
The engines we play with in tractor pulling are weird. That's what makes them special. I mean, the fact that the tractor pulling that I personally am interested in is the 50 cubic inch super stock class.
Yeah.
So it's the flathead engine, based loosely on a Kohler 16 horse, is a strange engine in the fact that Kohler kind of overbuilt the engine from the beginning, which allowed a lot of opportunity for the engine. So it's I love working and kind of coming up with new creative things to do with a flathead engine, because there's a lot of opportunity to kind of take an engine, which is, it's not necessarily, it was never a high performance engine. Try to make it into a high performance engine. You learn a lot about it. I really love the engine side of it. And there's other engines I like too. But I like.
What do you think of twins?
I like the twins.
Do you? I can't stand them.
I mean, I like them because of what they do for tractor pulling. I think that they're a fantastic 4,000 RPM stock class engine that you can put in and make good power and make that power reliably for 3, 4, 5 seasons without putting a lot of money into it. If you keep the rules in line for a stock 4,000 class, I think it probably has saved some tractor pulling.
Yeah.
Taking the twin, which was designed as a 3,600 or 4,000 RPM engine, and then trying to make it into an open RPM engine, I think it's a difficult sell for me.
Yeah.
Even though, I'm into grinding cams, so I grind cams for everything, but I would still argue that I like to do the stuff for that class, or that engine in the 4,000 class. It's a lot of work, I think, to take a V-twin that was designed as a limited RPM engine and make it into an open RPM engine. It becomes very expensive.
Yes.
And you could go out there and you could find open RPM twins like Harleys.
Yeah.
And things like, there's other engines out there, that are designed as open RPM engines that would, but they didn't come in tractors. They didn't come in tractors, but they're cheaper. You get a lot of money tied into taking an industrial engine and converting it to an open RPM performance engine. You could start with a performance engine, I would argue, and keep it a performance engine.
Yeah.
And probably be better off in terms of costs and getting people involved. Now, people would say, well, wouldn't that apply to the K-Series Kohler? Well, it kind of does, except for the fact there's been very few performance flatheads ever made, and there's very few iron block flathead single cylinders ever made. And there's very few of them that have the cam to crank center line that the K-Series
There's just better options out there for it.
Yeah. So it's like, I think that the industrial V-twin kept as a limited RPM engine makes a ton of sense. But to try to turn it into a 10,000 RPM race engine, it would seem to me that there's other engines out there that would be a lot closer, maybe even in junkyards or out of motorcycles that could have the same thing done to.
I hadn't thought of it.
Now I I realize people have kind of a fantasy of keeping with industrial engines and garden tractor pulling, but it's just and no disrespect to people doing that. I certainly help loads of people do it.
Yeah.
But my heart is kind of in the single cylinder.
Yeah.
And it's not even necessarily the flat. I'm just a single cylinder guy. I like the 18 overhead, and it's got a lot of problems, but I like to try to fix those problems in K361. I like big singles. I like overheads and flathead singles. I'm just into that. So
okay. So would you say that building the 50 cube motors is probably your favorite thing to do in the shop?
Definitely.
Then?
Definitely, yeah.
Okay. So let's see. I had one, what's a project you've taken on that you've really regretted?
Oh, man. Wow.
The top one you can think of, I guess.
Huh.
I have them, so don't say you don't.
Yeah. Oh, I know I have them. I'm trying to think of separating them out. Speaking of 18 overheads, I've made some billet head projects for K361, 18 overheads that turned into big projects that I never finished and spent tons of design time and machining time on and never finished them because I decided that there was a problem fundamentally with them, or I just lost interest in them. So as much as I like an overhead single, I've definitely spent way too much time and effort onto some billet cylinder head projects back in the early days. It would have been, they're just kind of creative passion projects. Yeah. That's the unfortunate thing. It's hard to say. It's hard to say what regrets are because some of them start off as like these passion projects, and you're just totally into them.
You learn from them, though.
You learn from them. Yeah, you're like, well, you can have a passion project if you're not going to cry like a bitch over losing a bunch of money on it, But you gotta step up, and it's like if you're gonna lose it, spend a bunch of time and be willing to lose some money, then that's what you got to do for it. So,
but that's what a passion project is.
Yeah. So I look around and I look at a chunk of aluminum or a lot of time I spend, or maybe arguments I had with people over it about the time or money I was spending on it,
and you want to prove them wrong.
I regret that. But at the end, how else are you going to learn from that? It's very machinist-like and engineer-like and kind of entrepreneur-like to just take on everything. And
where do you think your dad would be if he didn't? Or where do you think all this would be if your dad didn't take on something?
Yeah, everything. Failure is everything. So for everything that we come to market with or we work with, there's 3 or 4 failures behind it.
Absolutely,
there's things that never went anywhere. So
that's something I think people don't realize. Is I wish people see the amount of scrap that I throw away. Yeah. Whenever I do something that I don't like, if I'm not happy with it, I'll throw it away and I don't care. Yeah. I would rather have stuff nice than. I don't know. I've thrown away a lot of junk.
Well, somebody comes and looks at the final product and they're like, well, that's simple. I could build that.
Must be nice.
It must be nice. And they could build that. They could take the thing you did and they could unfold it and copy it and weld it in the same place. You didn't come, and after you did all the time of work and they'll never see the 8 prototypes and the time and everything you threw away to get to that you evolved through the process. They skip right to the end and they're like, I could build that. Well, why do you want $40 for that? It's like, I could build this for $20. It's like, well, it took me the last 3 months to build it, And
I'll tell you what, that's why, I've dealt with you as a customer for a few years now, and I've gained a lot of respect for you too, because how many hours do you think we spent in the shop talking about different parts here lately that I have an idea, you have an idea, at the end of it, we've ironed something out that's pretty cool. I'm not looking to take anything from anybody. I have ideas I want to run by you and stuff like that. I think that's what's good about the pulling too, is you can do that. But yes, there are lots of people out there that will see that end product and just go straight to copying. And they don't have the heartache of it. They don't have the pile of scrap metal for it. I get that. How would you improve pulling as a whole? What would you say would help improve it?
I don't know. It's improved. It's probably improved. I think for the puller, it's probably improved a lot over the last 10 or 20 years with rules. Basically, just a lot of people adopting rules that are pretty close, which allows people to move from state to state, county to county, state to state, across the country, and basically have a pretty good idea of knowing that they built something that they can pull someplace else. That not only helps the puller go out and move around and probably have more fun, but also it speeds up parts development because, think like, for example, stock altered is something that's been going on, not my whole life. There was no stock altered class back when I was a kid. It didn't happen until, probably, I don't know if it was maybe the late 90s, early 2000. And it's kind of interesting. The class probably existed in some form or another, but officially stock altered is stock lift, stock valve sizes, stock bore, or 30 over bore, stock stroke. It's essentially an open RPM stock Kohler turned into a competition pulling engine, made open RPM, and it's been pushed really, really far. And a lot of people would look at that and be like, it's just an open RPM stock engine, but when you see it on the track, it's pretty impressive,
Oh, yeah.
So many people aiming at the same thing has caused the development. Take cams, for example, a major technology point in the engines. The stock altered family of cams, because they're stock lift, range anywhere from about 326 up to about 340, 345 lift. And we have a whole multitude of what I would call stock altered family of cams, meaning we have a whole multitude of durations available in those lift categories. In the old days, before stock altered, somebody would just grab the Kohler and say, I want to put the biggest valve I can and the highest lift I can. And so they would decompress the engine on a stock block. They would put a big valve in it, and then they still have a little bitty carb or a little bitty port feeding this big valve at a really high lift. And it made for a pretty poor running engine.
Now you guys can fine tune them a little more with the duration.
Yeah. With aftermarket blocks, nobody does that sort of stuff anymore. And on stock blocks and stock altered blocks, people keep the valve sizes at a stock level, which is not racy. It's a little bitty valve. But that's what the rules are, and everywhere you go, everyone understands the rules. So they're like, it yields a 37 cubic inch, a relatively high compression. It runs a small carburetor. You find most people run it on alcohol. You find it ran on gas, but it's it's a reasonable engine to build, and that class is blown up. It goes through phases where it gets very popular and it recedes a little bit, and then it gets popular again. But in general, there's a lot of evolution and a lot of technology because the rules are so widespread now for what stock altered is.
It's more generalized for everybody.
Super stock is developed into a very competitive, highly tuned class because the rules have basically been the same and unchanged for a really long time. 50 cubic inch, flathead side. There are very few rules, but they've also haven't changed radically. And they're widespread from Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, everywhere. The super stock class rules are basically the same. Same goes for pro stock. So you got some of these class rules that are essentially almost written in stone. And that allows a lot of evolution to go on in the technology points, in my opinion, in those classes.
Right.
So going back to the original question, I think that, kind of getting some rules in terms of tractor pulling, if you want a lot of competition, I think having these classes that are super competitive, then people know how to go into them, know how to find the rules and build for them, makes for a lot of competition.
Yeah, not having different rules for different clubs.
Yeah.
I agree totally with that.
That's something that's helped the clubs.
Well, and that's the thing with us. We pull with people in Missouri a lot. We pull with Area 51 pullers and Egypt Mills pullers, and then, of course, our club. And all of our rules have been kept the same. We get a lot of people from Missouri come over pull with us. We'll go over to Missouri and pull a lot.
Yeah.
What organization do you like pulling with best? Or are they all pretty easy going? Or?
Well, around here in Effingham, we've got a couple of what I would call local clubs, and they're the Central Illinois Tractor Pullers Association, which is to the east of us here, and they've been a club that has been around for quite a while. and it has garden tractor pulling classes, the 3, 4, 5 garden tractor pulling classes. And there's also what we call the Christian County Club, which is to the west of us. They have 4 or 5 classes, 12 horse stock classes, 16 horse stock classes, stock altered. They've got super stock classes. Those clubs are good. They are local, just like a local pulling club class. So depending on where the event is or how it's organized, you might get a full class of competitors that are competing for the points. You might only get a few tractors in some of the classes, and they might have anywhere from 10 to 20 pulls during the year. I like those, but we don't really compete in any of those clubs. We usually join the club to support them, and then we might pull a couple times for test hooks or a couple of their bigger events where they've organized and decided to have a bunch of super stock tractors come to fill out the class for a bigger show. That works good. Day in and day out, we pull an ITPA, which in garden tractor, they only have the one class, the super stock class, which arguably is probably where the super stock class kind of came from. It's been in ITPA in the 50 cubic inch aftermarket block style for a really long time. And I would argue that ITPA's 50 cubic inch rules probably set the standard for what most of the other clubs see as the 50 cubic inch super stock class today. Open carburation, whether it be fuel injection, a carburetor, EFI, 50 cubic inch flatheads, valves same size, all that stuff. Those rules have kind of been fine-tuned for 30 years over ITPA, and other clubs fine-tune them too. And there are nuances, but essentially that class is the same most places you go.
Okay. What do you think about running for points? Do you think it's something that's fun to do, or you think it's more of a hassle? Or?
I think it's fun to do. It's fun to do. I used to never care about it, but it's fun to do. And what's interesting is it's fun to do, especially when I don't think I'm going to get a first. Yeah. That's what I've realized. We pull an ITPA with some serious competition. I mean, some great pullers. The best indoor winter pullers also pull an ITPA. Some Indiana pullers. We pull with some of the hardest super stock guys out there on 300-foot long indoor or outdoor pulling tracks. So it's hardcore outdoor competition. So when you can do well outdoors against those guys, it makes you feel pretty good. Yeah. You can do it indoors too. I forgot the question.
Just what did you think about points?
Oh, I think the points is cool because we go to ITPA polls and we usually don't have the illusion that we're going to get first. Yeah. We usually think if we can get into the money, top 8, we're like it. And so if we can stay in the top 8, we can run for points. So we started off this season until the 3rd or 4th pull, because I don't think we only had 8 pulls, the 3rd or 4th pull, we were like in 4th place in points. And then we went and had a couple of mistakes and we dropped way back and we were basically out of the running. But I think we finished the season 8th in points. But I really like the point. I like chasing it because you can still get 2 or 3, through consistency.
Oh yeah, you can stay there and get a good battle going with your buddy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it sounds like a lot of fun. We don't do it in our club, but there's been a lot of people that's kind of discussed it. There's some people that absolutely don't want to do it. Yeah. I just like getting people's opinions on it. I think it'd be a blast.
It's fun because it gives you a chance to get some additional money. Usually at the end of the day, they have a points fund. There's some additional money thrown into the pot, so they can usually pay out a couple of 2 or 3 places at the end of the season, possibly to people who didn't think they were going to get anything at all.
I like the idea of the people that are consistently supporting you, they get something back at the end of the year rather than just giving their entry fee all year long and then, thanks for coming and seeing us, buddy. It's more of a, hey, here's a little bit of money, maybe a trophy, something like that.
It's a little tricky because how a club does their business, it can be different sometimes than how a big organization. If you go club pulling, a lot of times it's essentially like if you and I are going to go club pulling this Sunday at our local club, event, you might put your $20 entry fee in. I put my $20 entry fee in. Our buddies put their $20 entry fee. And so some certain amount of money goes into the pot. Yeah. a certain amount of money has to go to pay the sled or whoever else, and then it gets divided up. Whatever's left over goes out and pays first, second, third. You know, so you're essentially betting against your buddies there, and that's fine. That's a lot of fun. But it's a little bit different whenever you have a bigger organization running it, because like in the case of ITPA, the fair basically pays the payout, you know. So depending on how many seats are filled in the stand, the payout's usually set at a certain level. But there are some events and places where the payout can be made higher depending on how popular the show is, you know. And so we go and we have a expensive membership in ITPA. I think it's $400 to join up. So but that's for the person, it's for the tractor, and you can set up between drivers and tractors are not the same, so you can have more drivers on one tractor.
Right.
You know, so it's a little bit of a different nuance. You put some money in at the beginning, but essentially your payout and how well you're going to be paid out is not determined by you and your buddies paying in the same way that you would have to organize a local club event. And so it's just the nature of how it's set up ahead of time as a business. And of course, a local club event, if you got 5 or 6 classes, you know, you don't have spectators at those events. So, you know, whereas a big event where a garden tractor pull is set alongside a 10,000-pound pro stock tractor, you know, we gain the benefit of having all the people that came to see Rodney Schnittker pull his pro stock tractor get to see me run a garden tractor. So that's good for us.
Oh, yeah.
As a garden tractor puller, really way better in terms of money than what we could ever get through the local club, you know. So, great,
Thank you. One of the ideas I had is kind of a fee at the beginning of the year to go towards points.
Yeah.
And, you know, have a banquet and stuff at the end of the year and use that money to support that. But kind of fine-tuning on what you were saying there is kind of some of the ideas I had. We got just a couple more, and then we're going to let you go because it's getting past our bedtime anyhow. This doesn't have to be a polling. This can be life, business, polling, anything. What would you say is one of your biggest accomplishments? Or it can be multiples. You know, what's some of your favorite accomplishments?
Yeah.
So it sounds like you've done a lot of stuff. Sounds like you got some.
Yeah, I definitely.
The land speed stuff's cool. Sounds like you got some pretty good young men for sons and.
Yeah, I'd say probably that, you know, accomplishment wise is just trying to get the family, you know, trying to build a family, do it the right way, you know, and build
I love
something.
You guys share it together.
Yeah. I mean, that's really what it's all probably for, you know. I don't.
Why else do it?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's not chasing money, you know. That's the older you get, the more you figure out you need money, but you don't.
I'm figuring that out myself.
Doesn't, you know, there's no reason in chasing it. And that's an easy thing to say if you're not in trouble with money, you know, and that takes some planning ahead of time too.
I'm enjoying myself
that would be a hard pill to swallow if I said that to somebody who had the bank chasing them, you know. So, you need money if you're if you need money, you need money. There's no two ways around that. But the key is to not turn it into a thing you have to chase. You know, count your blessings. We get to do this. You know, I get to live my life working for myself, building parts for garden tractor pulling guys. It's like selling model trains to model train guys. You know, it's guys who nobody's tractor pulling because they're being forced to or because they have to. They're going out there and tractor pulling because it's what they want to do with their time. They're spending their time that way. And you get to sell them parts or help them do the things they like.
I catch myself when people call me and ask about my parts. I catch myself an hour-long conversation just talking about what they got, where they like to pull, just shooting the bull with them.
Yeah, you know, it's not the guy ain't calling me because he's got a leaky water heater. You know, that's a real problem. He's calling me because he's trying to figure out how to get his clutch to not slip on his pulling tractor. You know, and he has good days and bad days. So you know, so that's great. You know, dealing with people because they want to talk to you, not because they have to. That's a hobby. You know, that's that's a pleasure that you
it
know,
really is.
You know, I mean, there's things you have to do, and there's things that you get to do. So,
Really, I would say that right there. What you just said would probably be what I would have to say is my accomplishment, is getting to do what you want to do, not what you have to do.
Right, yeah. Because, I mean, I worked for a good company, you know, and I saw myself, I worked for a couple of years, and I saw myself basically getting in the same traffic jam every day, going back to, you know, I could see the future. And there's not a problem with that if that doesn't bother you, you know. But basically, I kind of saw where my life was going, even though it was with a good job and a good company, and I had the opportunity to take a risk and to go out there and try something different. And I don't regret that at all, you know.
I find that funny, and that really kind of got me a little bit, because I'm just 30 years old, and I've been lucky enough to see the exact same thing. I had a job making really, really good money. I just seen that I wasn't enjoying it that much, and it wasn't really going to be anything for me at the end. Yeah. And now I've kind of went off doing my own thing, and I'm a lot happier. Yeah. So I probably more than anybody get what you mean there. Yeah.
Do you have any hobbies that are not tractor related?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've got some strange hobbies. So I've always been into.
I want to hear the strange ones.
Well, I build synthesizers. I build musical instruments. So,
wow.
Yeah, I've been into electronics my whole life. So I guess it's still kind of an engineering based thing, but I've always been into electronic music, and so I collect synthesizers.
Oh wow!
I build custom synthesizers. I do some industrial design for some friends who have synthesizer companies.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so I'm into that. I've ran a record label before.
Really?
And pressed vinyl records.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I've kind of, I guess, have hobbies. They're all kind of entrepreneurial, so I've always kind of, everything I've had this tendency that every time I see something I like, whatever, I think, I could do that, you know.
Yeah.
Or I have a friend along with me, it's like, we could do that, or you could do that, or whatever.
You're like,
and it kind of happens, you know. So I've always kind of been willing to kind of jump in at things I was interested in. I talk to a lot of people that inspire me too. I would always recommend that if you're inspired by somebody, find an author, read a book, or hear a podcast, reach out and talk to that person, you know.
That's why
we're here.
Yeah. So, I mean, I found that very inspiring. I talk to a lot of the authors. When I read a good book, I'll spend weeks or months trying to contact that person. I've developed relationships with all sorts of people, from engine builders to engineers to authors of books on psychology.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I read
I did
a lot,
that every time I read a book.
I mean, I don't. It's not every book I read that I would do that. I'm kind of selective, but I definitely have met a lot of people that inspired me in some way.
Who would you say is the biggest one that you met?
Most recently, what's turned into a fantastic friendship, and we talk all the time on the phone, is George Bryce, from the gentleman who is one of the designers of the Pro Stock drag bike V-Twin, the Mule.
Yeah.
He ran G2 and Star Racing, and he grinds cams for Harleys and M8s. And we started to talk years ago, and George and I just became great friends. And so we have evening conversations on the phone about engines and different stuff all the time. That's been a more engine based thing, not tractor pulling, but definitely engines.
For sure.
I have loads of friends that are musicians and in the synthesizer world.
Yeah.
I mean, people that I have loads of friends who don't know anything about tractor pulling, wouldn't know even what I was talking about if I told them that they don't even know what I do.
Yeah.
You know,
that was me before I met him.
Yeah. I got loads of friends like that. I constantly have the worlds colliding situation.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm into a variety of different things, so I get involved in all kinds of stuff that don't cross paths at all. So it's all kind of creative stuff for me.
That's very how she is.
Yeah. You know? Minus, I knew about tractor pulling when I was in the Marine Corps. People pull tractors with the helicopter engine I worked on.
Yeah.
So, I heard about it then. Yeah. And I was like, okay. And then that was it. That was all. And then 10 years later,
that for later.
I am. Yeah. But librarian in me needs to ask, like, what you're reading. Who's your favorite author?
Right.
Like,
Yeah. Oh, wow. So I read, like, right now I'm on nothing. I read technical stuff all the time. I read magazines and technical stuff. Of course, the Internet's a place for that now. I read, technical books that are real boring about engines and physics. But as far as like pleasure reading, I read Dostoevsky, Russian authors.
Okay, I was hoping for fantasy.
I used to read fantasy. I used to read, when I was younger, I did read fantasy. I was into like role-playing games. I read Dragonlance.
Yeah.
And books
that's
like
what
that.
I wanted here.
Yeah, I read I love The Hobbit and Tolkien and Lord of the Rings.
Of course.
I love all that stuff.
Tell him about what you've been doing this past few days.
Monday was Hobbit Day, September 22nd.
Yeah.
So Sunday I had my annual Hobbit celebration. Mm-hmm. And then I started a fantasy book club at my current library, and we read The Hobbit, and now each month we're reading all the Lord of the Rings. So Monday I had a second Hobbit celebration with my book club, and
excellent.
I sat in the shop.
So we had the movie play.
Right.
I dressed up as a Hobbit. Yeah,
excellent.
It was a big day.
Wow.
She had fun.
That
wasn't my thing.
Right.
She had a blast.
Yeah. Right. That's cool.
That is great. That's funny. So, I've been asking all of our guests this. Do you have anyone that you would suggest or want to call out for us to reach out to
who
be on?
Who would you like to listen to?
Yeah, who would you like to listen to?
That we could easily obtain because we're not famous.
Sure, yeah.
I got a few guys that I've got in mind I'm going to, but I've not reached out to them just yet. Dan Rude's one of them. Yeah. You don't know it yet.
Dan or Doug.
I'm wanting to get both
one of those guys. Caleb Peters. Caleb Peters would be a great one. His dad has been around. Caleb's dad has been around tractor pulling since as long as I can remember. So Caleb grew up around it too. Mm-hmm. Tudor Campbell is a good guy. Tudor's a great guy. Tell a lot of great stories.
I'll reach out to them and see what they say.
Bradley Corzine's been around for a long time.
I know.
He's been Boone ITPA. He's been around for my whole life. I'm 49. I'm 49 now, and I can, as long as I can remember, being back to 8-9 years old, Bradley's been around. I know Bradley's father. I know Bradley's son. I know the whole family. Yeah.
I'm going to try to get Bradley on. I don't know if he'll do it. I know he sat in the shop and told me a lot of good stories, but I don't know if he'll do this.
Yeah.
We'll try to secretly record him and then have him release it to us.
Sure, yeah.
He's a very good guy, and he's one of them, too, that his mouth's moving. I want to hear what's coming out of it.
Yeah.
He's got good things to say. Do you have any questions for us? We've been sitting here asking you the whole time.
No, I don't think so. I think...
Okay. Well,
excited to see it be successful.
Yeah. We really appreciate you doing this. I think there's a lot of people out there that's going to like listening to it. Awesome. This has been a very good one. I would love to have your dad on one day. Yeah. So work on that.
Let's see what we can do.
Yeah. But I appreciate the time for you doing this. I appreciate just any advice you've given and just the time you've gave to us.
Absolutely, yeah.
I guess we're going to cut it off there.